Hi you guys, my name is Haley and I'm creating this YouTube channel to bring awareness to post-traumatic stress disorder, which entails what it is, what you go through, and to help those who are experiencing it like I am and need, the support to know that they're not alone. And to also bring awareness to the families who don't understand what we're going through, because they won't understand what we're going through unless they go through it themselves. So right now in this video, I'm going to go through a couple things on just briefly talking about what it is and, stuff like that. So first off, I have notes over here because my brain's all foggy and I'm not having a good day. My agoraphobia is getting really bad today, and so I just felt the need to make this video. PTSD is not a mental illness. It is a psychological injury, which means, it changes the brain. People sit there and say, oh, you're going to fix it and it's going to go away and whatever. It's not. It damaged the brain. It's like you sit there and you break a leg. The bone healed over and fixed it, but it's still was broken. It's not going to be the same looking bone like it was before. The hippocampus shrinks, the area that helps us distinguish between past and present memories. It shrinks. Increased activity in the amygdala helps us process emotions and is also linked to fear responses. Sorry if I'm butchering some of these words, I'm struggling here. The ventromedial prefrontal cortex shrinks. The region regulates negative emotions that occur when confronting with specific stimuli. So it is not just a mental illness. It's something that physically affects you. Your brain no longer is the same. So, basics on what PTSD is. Post-traumatic stress can affect anyone, and it results from exposure to an experience that is horrific and life-threatening. The whole person gets locked into an emergency mode, fight, flight, or freeze survival, and will always be permanently programmed in that emergency mode at some level for the rest of their lives. 24/7, they live as if it is an impending crisis, could reoccur at any moment. It totally overwhelms their ability to cope, so when someone triggers them back into survival mode, they have no reserve with which to handle it. PTSD affects millions just in the US alone, along with those who love them and care about them. Because of the traumatic event impacts them on every level, physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually, the manifestations are quite extensive. Some typical symptoms. Okay, I'll read the symptoms later, but it really does mess with you and in your head and all that. PTSD is not one illness. It's multiple, because like I said before, it manifests into something more. It's post-traumatic attention deficit disorder, agoraphobia, emotional turbulences, depression, intrusive thoughts, insomnia, obsessive compulsive disorder, short-term memory loss, and 50 other conditions conditioned stress disorder. Yeah, I think I read that right. It's not one thing. It really isn't. It progresses and progresses and progresses, especially if you don't seek help, which there are a lot of different ways that you can seek help to live a normal life. PTSD is a change in how the brain operates that changes the nature of the mind. Instead of approaching each new day and experience with interest and optimism, people with PTSD are preoccupied with anticipating and dealing with threats. Some days we feel everything at once. Other days we feel nothing at all. We don't know what's worse, drowning beneath the waves or dying from the thirst. There's days, to explain what that means, there's days where we feel everything. The only way I can explain that is my nerves, I know, are inside, but I feel everything that can be maybe 3 feet away from me. Someone picks up their eating utensil at a food court or something. I can feel that brush against me. Somebody walks past. I can feel that air. And I know they're so far away, but I can feel it. And then there's days where I don't feel anything. I don't feel emotion. I don't feel pain. I don't feel happiness. I don't feel sadness. I don't feel anything. It's a loss of interest in anything. And those are the days that are actually, to me, feel the worst, because they're the scariest days of all. Trauma changes everything. It messes with every aspect of my thought process and functioning. I can be triggered into absolute devastation from a word, a pattern, a day of the year, a smell, something like that. I'm in a time machine, desperately searching for a way to move forward rather than flashback. That kind of makes sense. I don't feel like I need to explain that. Yes, I have notes because I need notes. Okay. The sense in which PTSD patients feel unsafe goes beyond fears that danger lurks about them. Their insecurity becomes more intimately in the feelings that they have no control over what is happening in their body and to their emotions. This is understandable given the hair trigger for emotion hijacking that PTSD creates by hypersensitivity and amygdala circuitry. Amygdala, I don't know. The part of the brain that I was telling you about. People think that PTSD is, because of the fact that you went through a trauma, doesn't matter what it is, that you're just, you're just afraid all the time. It's not. It is, but it's not. It's so much deeper than that. For example, if I go into a anxiety attack or a panic attack, I can't control that. I can't control what causes it. I can't personally control to get out of it. I can't control any of that. It's the moment it starts happening, I need help immediately because it can get really bad. And a lot of the time, I can't get pulled out of it. Well, I eventually get pulled out of it, but it takes so much longer. Sometimes it could be really quick. Sometimes it can't. But it's that fear of, recently it's been this fear of when is it going to happen? How bad is it going to be? Is it going to be again? Is it going to be in 5 minutes? Is it going to be in an hour? Is it going to be tonight before I go to sleep? Is it going to be, at dinner? Is it going to be, in church or anywhere for that matter? It doesn't even matter anymore. It's just, you have no control over it. You have no control of walking outside and next thing you know, a car passing by and you're freaking out and you don't know where you are. It's scary. And I'm having a hard time explaining it because I'm not in a good place, which is why I have my notes, but it's a lot of that. People think that, when you have PTSD, you can still be a normal person and you can still do all this and that and whatever. But the thing is I personally can't work. I mean, I'm trying to go to school. I'm in college. But it's so bad. I'm in such a bad, what I call episodes, that I'm taking online classes. And the classes that I have in school is 2 days a week. And they're with people that are in my support group. I have people with me 24/7, basically holding my hand to help me get through my classes in school, because those are the classes I can't take online. The sleep that I get is very little, and it's full of nightmares. It's tossing and turning and tossing and turning and tossing and turning, and just sometimes you can wake up from the nightmares and sometimes you can't. I personally dread falling asleep. I'm on medication to help me fall asleep, but I dread it. That's not sleep. It's when you're sitting there constantly, tossing and turning and, having nightmare after nightmare after nightmare. And sometimes it's flashbacks of what's going on, and sometimes it's, just horrible, horrible nightmares. Sometimes you wake up crying, sometimes you wake up shaking so bad. And then that's not sleep. You physically exhaust yourself. There's times where you don't feel like you're human, or you feel like you've lost control of who you are, and you cry all the time because you feel like this is not a life to live. Everyone sits there and tells you, oh, you're a survivor, you survived the trauma, da-da-da-da. But you still feel like you don't feel like you survived. You feel like you're suffering. And you feel constantly in that state of suffering, and it's hard. It really is. And it's not something that I wish on my worst enemy to ever go through something like this. It's not fun. And I don't even know why I would say even fun. It's not even remotely okay or anything like that. Sometimes I can't eat. Sometimes I can't sleep. Not sleep. Sometimes I can't eat. Sometimes I eat too much. When people sit there and they are like, well, why don't you go and check the mail, or why don't you go wash the dishes, or why don't you go clean your room, or why don't you whatever. Those tasks are easy to a lot of people. But tasks like that for us is a lot harder than people actually understand. My safe zone in my house is my bed. For you to ask me to get out of my bed, my safe zone, to go and clean my room or wash the dishes, or why don't you cook this food tonight, or why don't you want to cook this tonight instead of eating all these snacks? Well, snacks is I can race downstairs, grab my food, run back upstairs to my room, and stay in my safe zone. And people don't understand that. It's like, well, you never hang out with us. You never do this. You never do that. Well, I do the best I can. I try my hardest to do the best I can. You feel stuck. Now I'm going to go into some of the symptoms. I know this is a very long video. I'll probably break this up. I think I'm going to actually stop here, and I'll do my next video on the symptoms of it. Alright, you guys, be strong, stay safe, and remember, you're not alone.